Hello everyone, Discord here and welcome back to another Zoo Tour Snippets video. Continuing with my Germany zoo trip, the next major zoo I visited was the Zoo of Magdeburg. This zoo lies in front of a big city park, which you walk through as you approach the entrance. And the entrance building here is really awesome. It has this super cool shape with curved walls and wavy like roof, and I just think it looks really cool. Inside of this building is a large hall where you can also find a couple of exhibits for snakes and lizards, stuff like that. There's a small classroom, and I really want to point out all of these balconies above. They look super cool and they really give this building such a unique layout. Behind the entrance, moving into the zoo itself, is a meerkat habitat, and beyond that, before we get to any more zoo, is a large empty field. Maybe it's a garden, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, after all this empty space, we get to a more proper zoo area, which is also the main highlight of the zoo that I want to share with you today. It's the Africa area. One of the first exhibits I checked out when I got here was the one for the black rhinos. The first yard over here has some cool elements like this fallen log and a nice faux rock in the back adjacent to the stalls, and I thought this educative hut on poaching was quite neat, especially the statue of the poached rhino in front, and you can even see the horns of the rhino strapped to the building. Yeah, quite gruesome, but really neat. The stall of the rhinos was also quite nice. There's a dwarf mongoose habitat in front, which also has an indoor section inside, which is nicely integrated into the terrain over here. There's some terrariums here too for an array of tortoises and other lizards. What I like the most about this building, however, are the gorgeous murals on the walls of the indoor rhino area over here. They're beautifully integrated into the faux rocks, and it really makes what's basically just a square box of an exhibit look really nice. There's also a second outdoor yard for the rhinos as you follow the walking route, and it's a lot nicer compared to the first if you ask me. Not only is it slightly bigger, but it also has a panorama effect with the savanna behind it, making it look even more spacious and naturalistic. And it had a baby! Some other habitats around here include some small netted over enclosures for serval and colobus monkey, which I think could have been a little bit bigger. There's also a simple warthog enclosure, complete with indoor viewing, and lots of babies. Yeah, when I visited here there were so many babies all around. It was great. But yeah, there's this massive aviary with vultures and secretary birds, and it looks like you used to be allowed inside the aviary, but it was closed off when I got there, so the secretary birds had taken up residence above the entrance. The main hoofstock yard is also quite nice, if not a little barren, but I particularly like the Giraffe House over here. It's this large octagonal building, and on the enclosure side, parts of the roof kind of stick out to make room for the giraffes to enter. But what makes the building really stand out is its green roof. It blends in with the landscape really well. I guess it doesn't stand out actually, which is what I like about it. But yeah, the inside of this building is also super cool. They used a lot of wood and natural elements like that. And what I love the most is like this educational sign about the different patterns of different species of giraffes, and that is also entirely made from wood. It looks really cool. Across the stall is a huge mixed habitat for gelada, Nubian ibex, and rock hyrax, which I thought was such an interesting mix. Although with such a large enclosure, I reckon it can be quite hard to spot something like a rock hyrax. I'm guessing that's why I didn't see them myself, at least. Still, I love all the rocks in the back. There's a lot of terrain variations and interesting views, and yeah, it's really cool. Anyhow, the real highlight of the Africa area was Africambo, which is the elephant area. The main elephant yard here is fantastic. It looks great, it's spacious, really quite a large enclosure here, and it features this big hill in the middle which kind of eliminates cross views to some degree, so you couldn't really see the other side of the enclosure, and I suppose it also allows the elephants to kind of get out of each other's way to some degree. There's tons of faux rock over here. All the way around the entire perimeter of the enclosure is decorated with the stuff, so you really gotta appreciate that dedication there. The second enclosure, however, is a bit less great. It has a similar level of detail in the decor, but it's a lot smaller. Like, I'm not sure if there's any elephants that are like permanently housed separately here. I'm pretty sure there are, because there was like an elderly female or something like that. I'm not sure what the exact composition is, but yeah, I wasn't too happy to see the small enclosure here. Even the monkey enclosure beside it, I personally think is just a bit too small, which you wouldn't really expect for an area like this, which seems to be a lot newer compared to the rest of the zoo. Anyway, as we get into the elephant stalls, we do start to see some really cool things again. The path leading up to the actual stalls is littered with a bunch of educational displays. There's a TV playing educational videos about elephants, statues with elephant anatomy, and I really liked this display about evolution. It's kind of like 3D and stuff like that. I thought it was really neat. And yeah, just a bunch of other stuff around here. There's also a meeting room inside the building that I'm pretty sure you can rent out. And then coming into the actual stalls, there's even more really awesome decorations here, especially on the visitor side of things. I will say that the back of the stalls on the animal side were a little bit plain in comparison. But yeah, something I really liked here was how this black-throated monitor exhibit over here is connected to the visitor area and even the elephant stall by using some immersion effects, having these tire tracks go through the glass panels. I also loved this fallen log, which is kind of separating the two pools of the two indoor areas, and how it even seems to have collapsed on part of the bridge that we're working on. So those are just really fun details. I thought it was really great. So yeah, overall an awesome elephant stall, I would say. As we get back outside, passing through the stalls, we get to see more of the elephant yard. From this side is equally as impressive as it was before. We also get to see some other enclosures on this side, most notably an African wild dog enclosure, from which you can see the elephants in the background, which I thought was quite cool. Sadly, all the wild dogs were kind of sleeping off to the side, so you didn't really get to see that effect, but still, it's cool that it's there. There's also some other exhibits around here, like a small aviary with guinea fowl, and some lemur exhibits that were pretty much entirely indoors for some reason. Also an outdoor one, but yeah, I don't know. These exhibits didn't excite me that much, I will say. There's also this other viewing area of the elephants that I thought was quite cool. But that pretty much wraps up Africambo. We end up back at the gelada enclosure and this large restaurant that overlooks it. Here we also see a second entrance to the zoo, which may have been the old entrance, I'm not quite sure. But that was kind of the main thing I wanted to show in this video. Most other noteworthy things of this zoo are still going to come up in future real-life inspiration videos, especially the mandrill enclosure. I'm really excited to show you. It was like a really interesting building layout-wise. And then there's things like the chimpanzees and the main savanna and a bunch of other stuff that we'll show eventually on the channel here. I just don't have that much else to say about it. There were some other cool enclosures, like the tiger enclosure was quite nice. There's a mixed tapir and coati enclosure that was decent. And I particularly like the stalls of the tapirs. It had these kind of free-roaming monkeys inside, which were really fun. But as far as the zoo goes, the main highlights for me on this day were definitely the animals. Like I saw a marble polecat, which is an animal I had heard of before because there's a Planet Zoo mod for them. I even considered to put them in Key Park Zoo, but I'd never seen them in real life before, so that was really, really cool. They were super active and really cute as well. I also saw a kuzimanzi, which is like a type of mongoose that I didn't even know existed. So lots of cool animal encounters and seeing cool animals, seeing animals do cool things. But outside of that, there wasn't that much about the Zoo of Magdeburg that I really desperately want to show you guys. Like design-wise, enclosure-wise. A lot of it I thought to be a bit dated. Like there was a large section of old hoofstock rows that are just a bunch of straight rectangular exhibits, one after the other, sometimes with a slight variation in shape, but still quite bland looking. There's also some sections that are just large collections of big cages, like they had a bunch of cages all containing like different New World monkeys, for instance, and there were like really big cages with the bald eagle that just weren't that appealing to look at. And overall there were just a large number of exhibits that I thought to be a bit on the small side. I already mentioned the monkey exhibits in the newer parts of Africambo, but there were more like those throughout the zoos. Especially the lion enclosure, I really think is in desperate need of an upgrade. But yeah, luckily there is still room in the zoo to grow and to try new things. Looking back at that large empty field near the entrance over there, I really do hope that the zoo plans on using this space to expand in the future, continuing to modernize and putting the animal welfare first. So I don't want to really end on this negative note or anything. I really did have a lovely day at Magdeburg overall. I saw amazing animals, experienced amazing experiences, and I hope you look forward to seeing more of the zoo in upcoming videos, because there is definitely still some cool things to look at. So yeah, hope you look forward to that. And the next major zoo I visited on my trip was the Mountain Zoo Halle. The next video will be either about that, or maybe I'll do some smaller videos in between about a couple of the smaller zoos that I visited on the way there. I don't know yet. We'll find out. I guess I'll see you in whatever comes. Bye. Bye bye.